house even for a night. They just kept putting on another sweater, and they would not leave. I mean, it just. So I mean, all of a sudden, you fast forward to 2015 or 16, and you know, just that determination to remain, you know, single and self-reliant and all those kinds of things and stuff. But I would advise people, you know, don't have denial. You know, start putting those things in place, a durable power of attorney, maybe a medical directive, you know, just these kinds of things, because, I mean, it is kind of like playing a game. And if you know the rules of the game,
Right.
you're going to do much better than the guy who's like, I never read the rules. I'm going to, like you said, wing it. And then all of a sudden you get in a situation where, boy, I sure wish I had the ability to, you know, sign a document here to get this done, and I can't. And I got to tell you, the tricky thing for us was thank goodness we got the durable power of attorney done in 15, because in 18, at one point, he was declared incompetent by the VA. You know, that was part of that whole process and stuff. And then once he hit the memory unit in February of this year, I mean, you know.
You were done.
Yeah, there's no changes coming after those two.
And if you hadn't have done it, you'd have been going through a court system and getting legal guardianship. I mean, that's what it would have boiled down to. And in this day and age, if you don't have something, it's very difficult to have any say in your loved one's care because of HIPAA and all the regulations they put around it. As far as the healthcare providers, you know, we have to walk such a fine line to make sure we don't cross over those areas. And once your dad became to the point he was classified as demented, you were going to have to get some kind of legal document to take care of him had you not have been proactive and done the power of attorney or the durable power of attorney, which kicks in whenever the patient can't talk for themselves. So.
I mean, like I said, I mean, it was just really, you know, a godsend, I guess, that, you know, and here's one little tip I'll share with you and anybody who's listening, our listening audience and stuff. Well, you know, about the time I think Dad was thinking about it, you know, because of, you know, he could tell there was a few things going on in his world and stuff like that. And one day I was over visiting. This is going back to 2015, and he had an envelope there on the side table by where he liked to sit, you know, and it was from a local law firm. And I said, Dad, what's this? And he goes, oh, you know, I'm thinking about, you know, doing a power of attorney and stuff. And I said, oh, really? And I said, can I look at it? And he goes, yeah, sure. And I open it up, and I'm reading through it, and these people were going to charge him like $900 to do a durable power of attorney. And don't get me wrong. I mean, you know, attorneys, they have their place, and some of them do wonderful things and stuff like that. And so I have a service that I keep an attorney on retainer, sort of. And, you know, I said, Dad, let me make a few phone calls. And so I checked with him the next day, because it was like a Sunday afternoon. And the attorney I got, you know, she and I were talking about the situation, and she said, well, you know, she goes, if I were you, I would go to the Missouri Bar Association website.
Print one off.
I would get the template that, you know, fits what you're, you know, the durable power of attorney. I would print it off. I would take and fill it out, take you and your dad to a notary republic.
Yes.
And, you know, have them notarize it, and that'll work.
Sure, absolutely.
And I mean, that's how green I was. You know, I was like, okay, so how much is that going to cost? She goes, nothing, you know, unless the notary would charge you something. And if you go to your bank or you go to a credit, you know, someplace that already has a notary, more than likely they'll do that for free. So in that one little transaction, you know, we saved him $900 some dollars.
Absolutely. A lot of people are offered the opportunity to do one when they go into the hospital or when they have a catastrophic event, but, you know, so often that needs to be done before that. I mean, in Missouri, they will let the spouse or the eldest child make decisions if the patient's incapacitated as far as hospice. I'm not sure about the hospital if that still would stand. In fact, it's going to depend on the hospital policies. But if you don't have something in place before you go in, it's difficult to be involved in your loved one's care, because as far as the healthcare provider is concerned, they don't have anything to cover them with HIPAA compliance to be letting someone else help navigate the patient's care. Once the patient's demented, then, as you said, it's a whole different ballgame. And if you don't have those pieces in place before you get to that point of their life, you are going to pay some expensive attorney fees. You are going to go to court, and you're going to have to go through that system, which is a whole another process, and it's not a quick process typically.
Well, just having this conversation with you, I can tell you, I can already see that, boy, I wished I had known then what I know now and knew someone like you. I mean, that I could have gone to instead of, this, like, oh, okay, because I felt like I was in a bumper pool game or something, I mean, in a bumper car game, I mean, getting bounced around between, Medicare and the VA and the hospitals and the skilled nursing homes and the assisted care and all that kind of good stuff. The golden microphone has surfaced again.
Here we go.
That's right. The golden microphone. I got to switch it over here. Doing a two-person job. That's all right. I'm enjoying myself. It's a lot of fun. 417-597-4821. That's the number at the bottom of the screen. Be sure and call that right now. And donate if you could. We'd very much appreciate it. This isn't money that's going into our pockets. It's going into a fund for operations. While they do a little switcheroo over there, it's going to be like a magic trick. Now you see them, now you don't. Tony Hammock has to run home, and he will be back here later on today for, and you see him walking away behind me. You ruined the trick.
5 to 6.
5 to 6. For, I'm getting my paperwork here. Isn't that professional, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
All right, so from 5 to 6, we got the new gold standard, Tony Hammock. Is going to be interviewing Ryan Long. That name sounds familiar.
Yes, yes.
So be sure and tune in then. And while you're at it, we are beseeching you to help us to continue to do the right thing. And in doing so, you will do the right thing as well. And it's not like you won't be able to see where your money's going. You can tune into this radio station or this television network every day, Monday through Friday, and you can see exactly what's going on and how we do what we do, why we do what we do. And, yeah, there's still time. We still got a long ways to go, folks, and we need your help. So 417-597-4821. Back to you guys.
I'm Jim Whining. Many of you know me. This lady over here that's been visiting with Tony, Sassy Lawrence, probably one of the most special people in my life.
You don't make me cry.
When your parents are leaving you, it's like you're the only person in the room, and you have to make all kinds of decisions about your parents' life that you are not equipped to do. And it's so important to have someone with you besides your spouse who can objectively and lovingly help you through these tough times. And Sass was there. This young lady worked me through a very difficult time after my father had passed away, and I discovered, like within days after Dad's passing, that Dad had covered up Mom's Alzheimer's and dementia. And all of a sudden, we left the house there in Wichita, and we brought her home with us to care for her for about 7 years. And during that time, it was a slow walk toward, of course, leaving for the Lord. And there's really two questions that you are going to be faced if you have parents. One of those questions is, when do I step in and take control of their lives? And then the next question is, when do I involve hospice? And boy, you need to have someone like Sassy there for both of those questions. And they come.
They do come, and I was thinking whenever the other gentleman was talking, I was thinking, I can remember when my dad was stage 4 prostate cancer, and we had been blessed. The Lord gave us 12 years, but when it's your loved one, it's never enough time, but most people do not receive that much time. And he was down to the point that we were taking care of him, and my brother struggled with it. It was hard for him, and it was hard for all of us, but it was exceptionally hard for him, and he said it is difficult to go from, your parent being your hero to someone you're getting on and off the commode, and that is graphic, but that is true. You're going
Oh.
from them being your hero and leading you to you being their caregiver, the
Right.
person that's taking care of them, and you faced that so many times. You faced it well. I think taking care of dementia patients is more difficult. I mean, Dad had his faculties, his mind, almost up to the last day, but it is difficult. Uh,
It's, and you see things. I know the kids, Randy. We see things during that time that I didn't want to see them, and Sass was so good with me because that last year I put Mom in a nursing home, and then I would go to the nursing home, and Mom would say, "I want to go home," and I was an obedient child, and certain my sister would say that. Mr. Goody Two Shoes, I guess is what she called me. But if Mom said it was Monday, it was Monday. If Mom said we were eating hot dogs, we were eating hot dogs. And my dad actually, he went along with it. Mom was just a commanding personality. And for me to all of a sudden say, "No, Mom, you can't come home," I couldn't do it. And I had to have her help, Sassy's help, finally, after doing 2 or 3 disasters, bringing them home from the nursing home, realizing that Mom could not come home.
Most patients fixate on the fact that they want to go home, but if you, as you can remember, I can still remember helping you put her into the pickup, and I remember telling you, "Jim, don't be surprised if she struggles with this, because you're taking her out of an environment that she's adapted to, that's structured, and you're taking her back to your home," even though that's what she wanted you to do. If I remember correctly, it wasn't very long. You were calling me saying, "This isn't going to work. Mom is really upset. She's nervous." And getting them to try to accept their new place as their home is the trick. And usually you can do that with things from their actual home and bringing it in and getting them to try to remember the old times and certain things, certain pictures that makes them think, "Oh yeah, this is my home." Do you remember that? Do you remember the day that we put her in a vehicle and she was she wanted to go, but she didn't want to go, and she didn't understand what we were doing, and
It's just like that statement, and it's really hard when Mom would say, "Where's your father?" And I would say, "Well, Mom, Dad's dead," and it would be an all-day ordeal after that. Mom lamenting Dad's death because she couldn't remember it, and Pam, my better half, she says, "You say that again." I think she was going to cold cock me because she said, "You're not lying. You just say he's not here right now and see if that works." And I said, "But it's not." She says, "Don't you dare say that again." And those are just some of the things. And then when somebody says your parent needs hospice care, it's like, "Oh my gosh, that means she's dying right now." And you know what? And it's that word hospice is so
scary.
It is.
I wish we could call it something other than hospice. We say that all the time. It is so scary to people because the myths and the perception and some of the bad experiences that some people have had from earlier times in hospice, where I think that maybe some programs
Oh, you guys did wonderful
may
for
not.
us. Oh my gosh.
The company I work for is very ethical, and they try very hard to walk the line. And hospice, CMS says, "Okay, you get this amount of money to take care of this patient, and you're required to do this, this, and this to meet the guidelines." Well, what you do in your hospice might not be quite as much as what I do in my hospice, because I'm okay with not making as much money so I can do some extra things for that patient. And some hospices are going to give the bare minimum. And I don't want to talk one hospice against the other, by no means. But most important thing is that if you need hospice, don't be afraid of it. It is a good program, and there are guidelines on when the patients qualify for that service. And I know everybody wants to know, well, when should I put them on?
Yes.
Well, best advice I can give you is the hospice that you're interested, have them come out and talk to you. Have them come and look at your loved one, because they can see where they're at in their illness and compare it to the guidelines that CMS sets out to see if they qualify.
Why doesn't their doctor say you need to contact hospice? Why didn't they do that? Why don't they do that?
You know, Jim, that's a hard. There are some physicians that have that conversation very easily, and there's some physicians that do not. And to switch into hospice and healthcare goes against the grain of what we went to school for, what we were taught. We were taught to save people and make them better. The physicians are taught to keep them here, to make them better, to heal them. Some physicians struggle with that transition of saying, there's really not a lot more I can do. This is another benefit, and they work with me and they help me take care of you. But there are a lot of physicians that are uncomfortable with having that conversation because they're afraid that their patient is going to think they're giving up on them. You know, they've served this patient maybe for 40 years, and they don't want them to feel like they're, just giving up on them. But I face that all the time.
So, essentially what we call that in the old football terminology is a left-handed handoff.
Well, sometimes
it's just a matter of when you're going to get smashed. I mean, if somebody else doesn't want to give help out, they want to pass it on to somebody else to be the bad guy.
Probably one of the most humiliating and embarrassing admissions I ever did in my life, and it was in my younger years of hospice. I went to the patient's house, and I could still see him, and I was going through the paperwork, and I was green, and I really wasn't educated on using the softer terminology, and I said something about hospices for patients that are terminal, blah blah blah, and tears just started flowing down his face, and he said, "I'm terminal." And I thought, oh my Lord, help me out here, God. I was sitting in that seat thinking, nobody's told him this. Or he hasn't heard it. If they have told him, he hasn't received it.
They may have Alzheimer's and they can't retain it.
Well, he could. And his wife reminded him, but I learned a valuable lesson. You walk through that and ask them, what has your physician told you about your illness? What's important to you? Tell me your story. And if they can tell you their story, then you have an idea of where they're at. And life-limiting illness sounds a whole lot better than terminal illness. And they're about to shut us off again.
I know.
That gold mic comes up quickly.
Yeah.
But
It's not commercial time yet. It's 5 minutes till time we get to
He's a nosy guy, isn't he?
pushy.
Yeah.
But I
So what happened? How did you soothe that over?
you
I
know,
can't even comprehend it.
Jim, I just told him I was sorry. I didn't mean to be rude, and I softened, and I just said I'm really sorry. And the gentleman had cancer,
Yeah.
and the wife said, now we knew the doctor couldn't do any more. And when I went back to the office, I can remember just telling I was devastated. And some of my nurses, my friends, my peers gave me some softer terminology, some advice, and over School of Hard Knocks, I learned to walk that road a little easier. But
You walked into our house so comfortably with Mom.
I've done it a few
And
years.
yeah, I mean, it was, and I was trying to form my lips to say, Mom, you need hospice care, but it wasn't going to come out. And then you walked in and explained what hospice care was, and Mom, I was amazed. She remembered the hospice care that Dad had way before us, and it was very comforting that Mom was receptive and appreciated it, because I was not equipped to let Mom know, hey, we need to make some final health plans now that you're terminal. Gosh, because it's hard. I mean, and people, till you get there, you think it's never going to be there. I mean, my parents both lived to 89, and Dad was still able to give orders until his stomach fell out, and Mom was, you know, I think that there's got to be something that causes you. My trigger that Mom was not right was when she didn't immediately get up and say, "James, make me some coffee," and I knew, you know, at 6 o'clock in the morning she didn't say that. There was something wrong, because Mom, like her son, was a coffee drinker, and she had to have that first cup of coffee. And she didn't say that. And I remember running back to the bedroom and telling Pam, you know, Mom's not asking for coffee. And it's just so difficult. And hospice, to me, you know, when people talk about their parents, their loved ones, and they don't know what they're going to do, I say, well, when it reaches that point in time, then you need to be prepared to bring somebody in that you trust with hospice. Not just anybody. You got to trust those people.
When I think I would advise, if you have elderly parents, to start Googling the healthcare system, to start looking at some of your opportunities. And you know, we in healthcare sometimes use slang such as S&F, which is a skilled nursing facility, ALF, which is assisted nursing facility. Before your loved one presents in the emergency room and you're in this catastrophic event and you're trying to figure out, oh my, what am I going to do? You know, what facility should I take them to? Where should they do rehab? I guess I would advise you to know the facilities in your area and know who does the best rehab, and have a game plan formulated in your head just in case you face something like that, so it is not so difficult when it happens. It doesn't mean it's gospel. It doesn't mean that they'll always accept your loved one, but it at least gives you a plan and a formulation on where you're going. And I'd certainly start with some type of advanced directive or some type of durable power of attorney, so you have a right to speak for your family and know what they want.
Yeah, you can't get that any too soon. You
No.
really can't. Well, I guess I see by the handwriting on the wall from our producer, Mr. Matt Pearson, that we're supposed to wind this thing down. But I want to encourage people to watch this program, to share it with those people who have loved ones who are at that stage in time when they have to make a decision about being their parent and possibly about hospice care, because as Sassy Lawrence here said from her hospice experience, you need to be prepared for the worst. So thank you so much for listening. This has been the Acts Ministry Telethon program about being parent of your parent. Thank you, and God bless.